verse, Ephesians 4. (22) through 32. Ephesians 4, 22 through 32. If you have it, say amen. Amen. If you need a minute, say hold on. Ephesians 4, 22nd verse. You were taught with regard of your former way of life, to put off your old self, which is being corrupted by its deceitful desires, to be made new in the attitude of your mind, and to put on your new self, created to be like God in true righteousness and holiness. Therefore, each of you must put off falsehood and speak truthfully to your neighbor. For we all are members of one body. In your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry. And do not give the devil a foothold. Anyone who has been stealing must steal no longer, but must work, doing something useful with their own hands, that they may have something to share with those in need. Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth, but only what is helpful for the building of others up according to their need, that it may benefit those who listen. And do not grieve the Holy Spirit of God, with whom you were sealed for the day of redemption. Get rid of all the bitterness, rage, and anger, brawling and slander, along with every form of malice. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other just as Christ forgave you. Amen. May God add a blessing to the reading of God's word, the word of God for the people of God. If you would pray with me a moment. Most gracious, merciful God, Lord, we just thank you, Lord. We thank you for just bringing us into a brand new year, Lord.
Yes, Lord.
Lord, we ask that you just move in us and move through us, Lord. Lord, just open our hearts to this word, Lord, and help us to live in what you have called us to do, Lord. Be that divine purpose that you have set on our lives, Lord. Lord, we ask that you just allow your word to rain down on us and us to be nourished by it, so that we will grow into all that you need us to be. We thank you and we love you. We praise your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Have you ever felt like your options have ran out? When you looked on the keyboard of life, it seemed like every key had been punched and the needed result did not come to pass. Are you glad that 2016 is gone? That 2016 is in your rearview mirror, behind you, never to show its face again. When we look over the journal of 2016, we see some disappointment, we see some anger, we see some loss, we see some pain, we see some joy, we see some hope, we even see rage in the discourse of 2016. There's laughter, there's love, and even surprise. For some, last year wasn't what we expected it to be. There wasn't any awesome experiences. There was a whole lot of painful encounters. But through it all, 2016 gave us, through it all, we were able to cross the bridge. We were able to cross the bridge into 2017. We made it over into 2017. The diagnosis didn't derail you. The setback didn't stall you. No, it didn't stop you. No, it kept you moving forward. Yes, you made it over. You've seen a brand new year and new possibilities beyond your imagination. See, God is doing a new thing in 2017.
Yes, Lord.
And for many of us, this new year means new opportunities. Opportunities to do things different. We have resolved to do things different. We are determined to make this year better than last year. The beautiful thing about a new year, it allows us to set time aside to do something brand new and different. Most of us have made resolutions that we will struggle to keep. But because we believe they add value to our lives, we struggle to keep them. And in a sense, many of us are in that mindset of doing something different. We are in that moment. I want to start a sermon series entitled Reboot 2017. Reboot 2017. Somebody's thinking I'm talking about changing out some boots. But Reboot 2017, new year, new start. God is doing something brand new in this year. So because God is doing something in this year, we want to deal with how do we do things different? How do we do things different? Like I said, someone thinks I'm talking about a brand new pair of boots, but since those who are unfamiliar with computer terminology, let me break down what it means to reboot. What it means to reboot. A reboot is the process of restarting a computer. Using hardware most of the time, hitting the power button instead of using software. See, now rebooting sometimes is necessary after installing a new program. Somebody's going to get that in a minute. Installing an operating system update or to recover an error or to reinitialize a driver or a hardware device. And so there are two types of reboots. There's a hard reboot and there's a soft reboot. Hard reboots are done by pressing the power button. And soft reboots are done by pressing or doing the three-finger salute, as some computer people say, by pressing Control, Alt, Delete. Almost 30 years ago, I packed my bags to go to Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And in my second semester at Southern University, you can count back, some 30 years ago, I was at almost 30 years ago, I was at Southern University and I decided to take a computer programming class. I decided to take a computer programming class because I didn't know a whole lot about computers. During that particular time, computers were quite expensive. And so most people did not have a personal device at their home like today. And I took this computer programming course and I learned the power of the reboot. The power of the reboot. When I went to college, I didn't have a laptop. I took a word processor. I'm dating myself. Y'all don't know about the word processor. I had the word processor with the little screen on the front. And see, the thing about a word processor, it was simply a typewriter. It was simply a typewriter that you could use. And it didn't type the information right away. It allows you to proof before you type it. But I took my little word processor and I knew I had it and it was going to be easy. But as I learned, once I got to Southern University and all of the papers I had to write, I found my way to the computer lab. Now being novice to computers, I didn't know a whole lot about computers. So I had a word processor mentality trying to use computer. I was unfamiliar with the personal computers, but I figured it would be a benefit to take this course. The first day of class, the instructor blessed me. He reminded us that the power was in our hand. Amen. Because we could simply reboot the computer if it wasn't doing what we wanted it to do. Somebody just missed that. He reminded us that the power was in our hand, and if the computer wasn't doing what we needed it to do, all we had to do is press the power button or hit Control, Alt, Delete. And so that blessed me. He explained if the computer isn't doing what you want it to do, if it's stuck. Wait, if it's stuck, if life isn't going, if the computer is stuck, then all you need to do is hit reboot. Wait. If things seem like they aren't going the way you want them to go, all you need to do is hit reboot. Somebody still hadn't got it. He explained that hitting these three keys, hitting Control, Alt, Delete, it changed the game. It made the computer start over, and you could continue with whatever you were doing. As I reflected on this life lesson, the Spirit told me that someone at Mount Welcome needs to reboot. So over the course of this series, I want to explain this notion of rebooting to you. And so I want to tag this text this morning, hitting the Alt button. Amen. Hitting the Alt button. We need to do a spiritual reset every once in a while. The Alt key, I know somebody that knows very little about computer, and they're like, the Alt button, the Alt key, what are you talking about, Reverend Robinson? Well, let me break down the Alt key for you. See, the Alt key on the computer keyboard is used to change stuff. It's for alternate functions. And so if you press it, it is a modifier key. It is a modifier key. This makes it is one of the few modifier keys on the keyboard. But see, let me break this down. So if you hit the Alt key, it allows the other keys on the keyboard to do something that they don't normally do. Amen. Somebody's getting this. Somebody is getting this. Simply explain you know about the shift button, right? Well, when you hit the shift button, before you hit the shift button, everything is in lowercase. When you hit the shift button, everything becomes capital. The shift button is a modifier key. It allows keys to do something that they don't normally do. Amen. Well, the Alt key allows other keys to have or to expand the functions of keys on the keyboard. In the text for today, the author is suggesting to the hearers to hit the Alt key. The author, if he was in our time, he would be telling us to hit the Alt key, to be made anew in the attitude of your mind, to put the old self away, to be created like God. He's saying, hit the Alt key. Amen. One of Paul's disciples penned this text, and it helps us to see the possibilities of the Alt key. Oh, yes, Lord. It helps us to see the possibilities of the Alt key. The author is writing to the church at Ephesus, and to truly understand the text, you got to understand Ephesus. You have to understand what was happening in this community in Ephesus. Now, see, this community was located in what is now modern-day Turkey. And so it was part of the Roman Empire. It was part of the Roman Empire, and it was a major trade center. And it was a community that was filled with a lot of diversity. But the one thing that most of the people in Ephesus had in common was the goddess Artemis. Was the goddess Artemis or Dana, the Greek goddess. The Greek goddess, they were familiar with the goddess Artemis and her temple, temple of Asylum. Artemis was a Greek virgin goddess, huntress, who protected girls and childbearing women.
Yeah.
But also Artemis was perceived to be a place, her temple was perceived to be a place of refuge. If you did something wrong, you went to the temple of Artemis. And also it was a place of deposit. People would go to the temple of Artemis to deposit large sums of money. And they knew that nobody would mess with their money in this temple. Now Artemis was the god of Ephesus. And the author is telling the people who are in Ephesus, you need to do a reboot.
Amen.
Or you need to start seeing things different.
Amen.
You need to start rethinking some things.
Yes, sir.
And so, like the church of Ephesus, oftentimes we forget about the alt key in our story of life. In our journey, we lose focus of the whole keyboard.
Yes, sir.
We forget about the alt button. We forget about that little button that sits by the space key. We forget that there's more power in us if we would just hit the alt button.
Amen.
And there are other things that we can do if we would just hit the alt button. We forget that the alt button is there. But I believe that we forget the alt button is there. One of the reasons I think we forget the alt button is there is because of past regrets.
Oh, yes, Lord.
Past regrets. What do you mean, Reverend Robinson? See, the author reminds us, he reminds the readers of their former way of life in that verse 22. He reminds them of, and so he's telling them, you thinking about yesterday. You thinking about what you used to do. You so caught up in yesterday that you can't move forward. That you can't see the alt button on the keyboard. Many of us can't see the alt button because we are trapped in our past lives. We trapped in 2000. But I like what it says in that verse 22 after the comment. Put off your old self. Wait. He says, put off your old self. Leave that old stuff behind. Wait. The author is simply saying, hit the alt button.
Amen.
Our past has a way of hindering us. I think also we can't see the alt button because of our past regrets, but we also can't see the alt button because of our present reality.
Amen.
Our present reality, the author tells the people at Ephesus in 25 and 26 that they're living pretty much in the moment. Our present situation will make us think we're trapped. Will make us think that our options are few. If you're dealing with some stuff in your life, it's hard to look for the alt button. It's hard to see how things are going to come to fruition. It's hard to see what God is doing in your life because you're so busy trying to figure out your next move. See, our present situations oftentimes holds us back because of the things that, all of those things, if you're worried about how you're going to pay your bills, how you're going to feed your kids, you're not thinking about next week. You're not thinking about next month. You're trying to live in that moment and make a way out of nowhere. You're unable to see the alt button. So past regrets, present reality. But also, people can't see the alt button because of unrealized possibilities. So sometimes our past mistakes, our present situation distorts our future possibilities. We so caught up in what happened a long time ago.
Amen.
We so caught up in what's going on right now that we can't see ahead of us.
Amen.
We're so busy looking in the rearview mirrors, we can't see what's in front of us. The thing is, too often, we sit up and we are trapped in our past lives, in what we did wrong, and why we didn't do it the way we needed to do it. We're stuck and we're trapped, and we don't allow God to use us. But I'm glad I'm glad I learned about the alt key some almost 30 years ago. See, using the alt key expands the possibilities of the keyboard. As we move into 2017, we're moving into something that is very different, probably unlike anything that we've ever seen. Yes, we are moving into an alt-right reality, possibly. Yes. Somebody's going to get that in a minute. See, because in the January 20th, somebody new is moving into the White House. And next to the Oval Office is this man named Steve Bannon, who ran a website. Who ran a website that focused on sexism, racism, xenophobia, and white nationalism. And so, if you have the president's ear, you're that close to the president. My. But don't you know, God has a way of expanding the keys of life. See, God's alt key it has pushed us through the middle passage. I wish somebody was hearing me this morning. God's alt key has carried us through chattel slavery. I wish you all were hearing me this morning. And God's alt button has helped us make it through Jim Crow. And God's alt button has pushed us even through the lynchings of the early 20th century. And God's alt button helped us march in Montgomery, helped us sit in counters in North Carolina. God's alt button has pushed us and brought us a mighty long way. I know you're tired from partying last night and getting your groove on, but can I? Since it's 2017, can I just give you 7 little points? And I'm going to get out your way. I'm going to get out your way. I'm going to run through these really quick so that we can get through this. So somebody is asking, when you hit the alt button, what happens? So somebody is wondering, when you hit that alt key, what happens? When you hit God's alt key, what occurs? Well, the first thing that occurs, I think that the text tells us in verse 3 and 4 that the author points to unity. See, the author makes every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit. The author points to this unity of the body and the Spirit. Wait. So the author says when you hit God's alt key, there's unity in the church. There's unity in the church. Wait. You know what? Yeah. Because I am unapologetically black and I'm unashamedly Christian. You know this sounds familiar. Since this is the last day of Kwanzaa. Yeah. I just lost somebody with that. Since this is the last day of Kwanzaa, wait. Unity sounds like Humoji. Wait. So I'm gonna give y'all a Kwanzaa lesson this morning. Y'all can be mad at me later, but I'm gonna connect it to the Bible. And so unity. The first principle of Kwanzaa is Humoji. See, to strive for and maintain unity in our families, communities, in our nation, in our race. See, the author in the text is simply saying in this new year, we need to come together like never before. There are going to be forces against us that are going to try to hinder us, going to try to take us back to periods that we have no desire to go back to. But I tell you, unity built the pyramids. Unity helped the nation Israel move out through the wilderness. Unity helped the Songhai Empire. Unity helped break the back of Jim Crow. I know. Somebody's still stuck on the fact that I'm talking about Kwanzaa in a Baptist church, but help me, Holy Ghost. So the second thing that the text tells us is that this spirit of self-determination. If you go up to verse 11 and verse 12, it says the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the pastors, the teachers are given to equip the people. That sounds like some self-determination. What Kujichaka live to define ourselves, to name ourselves, to create for ourselves, to speak for ourselves. Self-determination pushed persons who were formerly enslaved to build churches like Mount Welcome, to write books that have led us through, to create institutions of higher learning, to help sons and daughters of sharecroppers achieve the American dream, to help us become CEOs, to help us become MDs, to help us become DDs and PhDs and even presidents. God has moved in us. Our self-determination has led us and brought us a mighty long way. But also the text tells us that we need some collective works. In verse 15, if you move up to that, speaking in the truth and love, we will grow to become in every respect mature bodies of him who is the head. And it says that we need to come together. See, the thing about a body, there has to be collective work in the body so that the body works properly. Eugene, collective works and responsibility to build and maintain our communities together, to make our brothers and sisters' problems our problems. What if we came together and we made your problem was my problem?
Amen.
Wait. See, the thing is, we used to do that.
Amen.
If you didn't have sugar,
Amen.
you had sugar at my house.
Amen.
Well, go knock on your neighbor's door right now. They're going to look at you crazy. You better go to the store.
Amen. Collective works and responsibility helped our ancestors work from can't see in the morning to can't see at night. It made a woman in Alabama refuse to get up and give up her seat. Amen.
I stopped by to tell you we need some collective works in 2017.
Yeah.
But also cooperative economics. In the text, in the 28th verse, doing something useful with your hands to share with those in need. It's telling a person to stop still and start working to make sure that you can impact somebody's life. UGMI, the cooperative economics, to build and maintain our own stores, our own shops, our own business, and to profit from them together. The problem, the interesting thing about the black community is we spend more money than most nations.
Amen. Amen.
We spend trillions of dollars, but yet our community suffers.
Amen.
Because we don't buy black. Wait. See, now, there was a time, and I'm pretty sure people in here can tell you about a time when all they could buy was black.
Amen.
And people prospered, and people came together.
Yes.
But now, we're so divided that our communities struggle. Cooperative economics helped create Black Wall Street in Oklahoma. And when black folks started building wealth in Oklahoma, they burned it down. It's this thing of creating for ourselves and maintaining. The thing about black wealth is, if we would just come together, it would be a game changer.
Amen.
What we spend would make us, I think it's like the 10th richest nation in the world. In the world. And so if we would come together and do cooperative economics, it would change our total community. But then the text tells us that you gotta have purpose. Nia, you gotta, in verse 1, in chapter 4, it reminds us to live a life worthy of our calling. To live a life worthy of our calling. Nia, to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our communities in order to restore our people to their original greatness. What if all of us decided in 2017 that we're going to live in our purpose? We're not going to play in our purpose. We're not just going to live. Everybody in here has a purpose. And everybody in here has got a call from God to do something. Now, some of us have decided not to do it. And I don't care how old you are, how young you are.
God is calling you to do something.
Amen.
And if we would live it on purpose,
Yes.
don't you know we would take Mount Welcome to the next level?
Amen.
If all of those skills that you give to your job,
Yes.
you just brought some of it here. Don't you know?
Amen.
We would do some amazing things. We would do some amazing things. See, purpose is what made a small woman named Harriet Tubman travel back down to the South to free some slaves, to conduct an underground railroad. Purpose is what made a little young gentleman from Atlanta start or become part of a movement. Purpose is what made Martin Luther King stay on the battlefield. It's living in our purpose. I'm almost out of your way. We just got 2 more days to go. Help me, Holy Ghost. So then the author, in verse 18, in chapter 5, lifting each other up,
Amen.
and find a way to make things happen.
Amen.
Creativity is the author of Ephesians is saying that there needs to be some creativity in our community. Kuumba, creativity to do always as much as we can, in the way we can, in order to leave our community more beautiful than we found it. Wait. So, if every member of Mount Welcome decided, I am going to make sure Mount Welcome is better than it was when I walked in the door.
Amen. Amen.
See, we can't live in this inheritance and not contribute to this inheritance. See, people who had 10% of what we have today help create Mount Welcome and make it what it is today. People that didn't have big cars and big homes and a whole lot of money built Mount Welcome. They made Mount Welcome what it is, and yet we complain with all the stuff that we have. But what God is saying, what this author of Ephesians is saying to the church at Ephesus, he's saying simply, you got to give back. You got to do as much as you can with what you have to make this church the best that it can. The thing about creativity in our community is what gave us the jazz, is what gave us the stoplight, is what created Washington, D.C., is what gave us the blues, is what gave us hip-hop, is what gave us R&B. Black people are a creative people. We are a creative people, and we've been making the most with what we have for a mighty long time. But finally, the last day of Kwanzaa, which is today, is faith. And I think the author of Ephesians is saying that we have to believe what God is doing. We have to, Imani, we have to believe what God is doing. Believe with all our heart in God, in our people, in our parents, in our teachers, in our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle.
Amen.
Faith is what made Moses go and tell Pharaoh to let my people go.
Amen.
Faith is what helped our ancestors in their darkest days. Faith is what sent you to college. Faith is what helped you become who you are, because somebody had faith in you. It had faith in you. And so I know this sounds like a Black History sermon. I know it sounds like a February sermon. But I would not be true to myself. I would not be true to who I am on this 50th anniversary of Kwanzaa, if I did not share the principles of Kwanzaa and point to how the very principles of Kwanzaa are scattered throughout the Bible. We have a tendency to think that Kwanzaa is there to replace Christmas, but it's not there to replace Christmas. It's there to add to our lives. If we would live in these principles, our church would become a very different place. I know I messed somebody up. I know you didn't come here to hear about Kwanzaa, but I just stopped by to remind you that God needs us to reboot and to do some different things. God needs us to live in an alternate reality, to do things different from the way we've been doing it. See, we've been hitting keys and getting the same results. But we need to hit the alt key. Do something different. Do something different. Because God needs something different. If we would just hit that alt key and decide in 2017, I'm going to live by a different code. I'm going to do things a little bit different than I did last year. I'm going to let all that stuff go. I'm going to leave all that stuff behind. I'm going to live in my purpose. I'm going to live in what God called me to do. I'm going to be all that God needs me to be. If we would just do that, then our lives would be very different. If we would just hit the alt key. Hit the alt key. And expand the keyboards of our lives. Then things would be different. I stopped by to remind you that you think all your options, you've used every option that you possibly can. But I come by to tell you, 2017, you forgot to hit the alt key. You forgot to hit the alt key and allow God to do what God can do. And so, as we move into this new year, if we would just hit the alt key and allow God, just allow God to use us, we would just say, here I am, Lord, send me. Here I am, Lord, send me. Then this church would be different. This community would be different. This world would be different. God needs us to do something different. Amen, church? Amen, church?